We're rolling. Timer starts now. Mark. Hi, I'm Ford.
And I'm Sky. And these are not our real names. These are our superhero names, and with our powers combined, we formed the writing partnership L. Skyford. Welcome to Booklandia.
Today, we're going to review a book, most likely a romance. But before we get much further, did you know you can watch our faces do this episode by subscribing to us on Twitch at L. Skyford or YouTube at L.Skyford? You should really do it. We give good face.
And sometimes there's a dog bomb at Ford's house.
This is true. For our other socials, you can follow us on Twitter at SkyfordL, on Instagram at L.Skyford. And if you're interested in our book, blog, or even more book reviews, head over to our website, lskyford.com.
Lastly, this and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers, and every episode is rated E for explicit. You have been warned.
Hi. I was revving up.
That's exciting.
I have three things I wanted to start off this episode talking about, but I think we have to talk about the most important thing is that there's finally a dog in this recording studio.
A proper dog bomb in Ford's house.
Absolutely. I mean, she's asleep, so she's curled up in this blanket where she'll be for the rest of the episode or until she realizes that my spouse has left the room and her favorite person is gone. But there's a proper dog.
Very nice. I feel like we
also have an animal in your room.
I do. So it's raining out, which is rare, but wonderful. So there is the sound of rainwater, which is just like a trickly situation. And there's a cricket. A cricket is in here, and I don't know where, and I don't think they're going to be leaving anytime soon because it's wet outside. So for just a cricket for every awkward silence that we will have in this episode. Built-in sound effect.
Built-in, crickets, actual crickets. That's fantastic, and I feel judged. I also want to point out how your cats are useless.
I mean, yeah. No, they are definitely, what they do is they will find the bug and then they just mew really loudly until I come to get it for them.
Mom.
That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens every time. And then I get rid of all the bugs except for apparently this cricket, which I did not have the high-powered flashlight and I don't know cup required for cricket catching. At me with your how to catch a cricket best practices.
Did you see that meme that was an email that a student sent to her teacher saying, "I'm gonna be really late to your class. I'm stuck in my dorm room and there's a bug that won't let me leave." And this bug held her hostage and she couldn't figure out how to leave because every time she'd move, it would move and it was blocking her exit. It's really delightful.
That is an excellent why I was late to class. I would, just based on the entertainment value of that email, I would let it slide.
Right?
Yes.
Yes. Creative. I love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, we are here today to talk about The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams, or as we call it, How to Fail at Flirting 2. Because that book imprinted on our souls, I think. Let's show the people.
This is
the cover.
Yeah, this is the cover right here. It has a running track on it with two people running away from the point of view of the audience. There's a plus size woman in a burgundy magenta hoodie and a taller, who we know is taller coach type body person. What? That was not a sentence. You do it.
Okay. So we see Coach, who is a taller body person of a male variety. running beside her. They're both wearing sneakers. Over them both is a sort of a sketchy handwritten font that in yellow that says the fastest way to fall, and Denise Williams's name is at the bottom in the pinky maroony color. I'd also just say like the vibe of this cover is very fall. It's very saturated royal neon-y colors.
Yeah, it's very well suited for like right now for this weather type. It also is I think it's designed the cover is designed by the same artist that did How to Fail at Flirting, so that they look like they belong together, and very very vaguely they belong together insofar as there are characters from How to Fail in this very briefly,
Mhm.
but they are in there,
Yeah,
which is great. Um,
yeah.
and yeah, so this
And,
is yeah,
Wes was very briefly in How to
yes.
Fail at Flirting. So there's a little thread braiding all of these people together.
Yes, though it took me a really long time to figure out, like, I think the timeline doesn't quite align because
Mm,
in How to Fail, when he's running with them, they talk about the fact that he's getting ready to propose to his girlfriend. And then
mhm.
in this one, that proposal was years ago. Like, it wasn't
Yeah, it was like
months
6
ago.
years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it does like so if that's the case, and then maybe a year after that conversation is the end of How to Fail, then it took
Mhm.
them 5 years to plan their wedding. I mean, no judgment on that, but that seemed like a really protracted time.
Well, 5 years to have a relationship that culminates in a wedding.
Sure, sure. But so yeah, so to me the timeline was a little off, just
Mhm.
a little off.
Okay.
Uh
Alright.
but I mean nothing about it bothered me in a way that I'm like, well, that just breaks all of the rules and conventions and it can't possibly. But yes, there is there is sort of a and I mean it's there's an implication of the previous one that it is happening right now. And
Mhm.
there's the same implication of this one happening right now. So having
Yeah.
5 years between them seemed like a lot of time that didn't like from a technology standpoint and from the way that we interact with things standpoint, they seemed anachronistic in the same way.
Hmm.
Thank you, Cricket, for your commentary. I'm sorry, the Cricket thing is just gonna keep coming back.
That's fine. Finn, you don't have to edit it out. It's now a character in this episode. It's
We'll name him
Jiminy.
Jiminy for very obvious
Jiminy.
reasons, of course.
The only famous cricket.
The only famous Cricket.
We need
Truly.
more cricket representation out there, people.
Let's not encourage too much of that.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Copy that.
all right. Let's get back to Denise Williams's book.
Yeah. Shall we
Let's
tell the people what this book is about?
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I
Great.
wrote this very last minute, so it may be quite terrible, and I apologize in advance. But would you like to read it
No,
for our listeners?
this will be a cold reading, so I absolutely will read this for the peoples.
Excellent.
For the bodies, for the bods.
Oh, all right, good tie-in. All right, so in
I'm trying.
3, 2, 1.
Britta wants to kickstart her career as a writer. I'm just going to add that in as a writer with an assignment about a fitness startup. Through sheer coincidence and her wit, she gets paired with the CEO as her coach. She shouldn't flirt. He shouldn't see her in person, and yet they cannot stay away. Could they ever work and play together, or will their responsibilities keep them apart? A slow burn romance. I'm also adding that in. It's very important to know.
True that. Absolutely true that. Yeah, sorry there were some words missing at the beginning, but you did excellent with my bad words.
I I speak fluent Sky, so
Thank you. I
it's good.
appreciate that very much.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
So, here's where
Sorry, before you hold up,
yeah.
before you dive in,
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
book releases November 2nd, 2021. So,
Yes.
what is it? A week, 2 weeks away from the time we recorded this, probably the day we're releasing this.
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
yeah, that would make
Yes?
sense.
Goodness.
I
Whatever.
think I think the following week. Anyways, read
Yeah.
this, come listen to us, or listen to us, go read
Mhm.
this, whichever way your boat carries you. Um,
Now you may dive into that you're jumping off a thought cliff.
I
Proceed.
was jumping off of Thought Cliff. That's a very very good imagery there. So um, this entire book deals with fitness apps, people on fitness journeys, working out, counting calories, recording your meals, being active or staying active. And like 90% of this book talks about fitness in one way
Yeah.
or another.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't love any of that.
Uh-huh.
So
Hard same.
So I think she did I think Denise Williams did firstly, she did a really nice job with content warnings. So there's a lot of content warnings
Mhm.
at the beginning of this book. Please read them. They're very important. And then she did a really great job of making it really clear that for Britta and for Wes, working out and staying active and staying strong didn't have anything to do with losing weight or
Mhm.
dieting or a body image that wasn't realistic or that was set upon them by the world. Like it's very clear, and I think she did a really great job with it. But it still, to me, was like the fact that he was coaching her even like after they've discussed that he was no longer her coach, and that
Mhm.
all of their conversations end up in this like coach and mentee mode where it
Mm.
was like, good girl, you're doing so well. And the moment that happened, it was like, oh no, no, like that felt to me so very weird because though a personal trainer is wonderful and they should be motivating, and while he was doing that job, it was great. Once he became her boyfriend, and I know that he's her boyfriend for only one weekend, but once their relationship shifted from being coach E sounds weird, so I'm going to continue saying mentee. Uh, coach and mentee, it like once they
Athlete, coach and
athlete,
athlete?
yeah, once they became friends and their
Mhm.
relationship stopped being a coach, right? Like at first their only
Yeah,
interactions are in coaching
professional.
scenes. But then at some
Mhm.
point their relationship shifts and they become friends. And so there are times when they're coaching together and then there are times when they're simply hanging out together. And in those
Mm.
moments, in the hangout moments, he was still coaching her. And even though it was meant to emphasize that he is struggling with keeping their relationship boundaries in place, to me, it just read like we were always in coaching mode. And
Mm.
it just, oh no, I don't even
Yeah, we
have good
never
words
really
for
got
it.
they talk about, like, he'd come and hang out at their house, and they'd watch TV in the evenings, but we never got that scene. So we
Right.
never saw the non-coaching relationship with them. That's true. That's a very good
And
point.
and I don't mean to be well, firstly, I don't like fitness in the way that Americans view fitness. But I also felt like there was so much like it was just the entire book was fitness.
Mhm.
And the entire book was like running and pushing and running and like I needed a soundtrack under it, and then I didn't want it. I like
Mhm.
the romance was lost to me in the number of
Mm.
steps she did or the number of people who liked her post or the amount of
Mhm.
kale she ate. It like I don't know. Thoughts on
0.
that? No, she
Yeah,
she ate kale smoothies or she drank kale smoothies at one point.
I guess that's true. I guess that's true. She began to do that. I Yeah, I mean, my core issue is that it's a slow burn romance, so shit doesn't happen until the 75% mark, and even then, there's not enough book left for it to be a lot of sex. You know me, I need a lot of sex in my books. Um, I do wanna just very quickly, could you tell me what the non-American point of view of fitness is? Because I don't know what that is.
I mean, I think it's different in every country. I think,
Mm,
and obviously, I do not know what it is everywhere. I am not a kinesiologist. I do not like
mm,
that is not my field of study at all. But I
mhm,
imagine that the approach to how to stay active and how to stay fit and what those definitions mean is different. And I think
mhm.
in this country, it's run a 10K, eat
Right.
kale,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
have a gym membership, right?
Mhm.
Like there are certain things that were implied about her situation that I was like, oh, okay, we're sure. Like, use all the machines at the gym. And I was like, why? Like, we need an explanation on that. I need an explanation on that because there are people who need or want or decide to use the machines at the gym and those who don't. And she even has a post about it in the book. But it really doesn't get into like what the machines do or
Mhm.
why she decided to try the machines. So she consumed, for me, she consumed physical fitness sort of like as an all encompassing, like, give me all the fitness. We're going to run, we're going to do machines, we're going to do
Mm, mhm.
yoga, we're going to do all of these um changes to the diet. We're going to do all the things and it's going to be like she runs 4 days out. She runs 4 times a week and she exercises both in the morning and in the evening every single day. And it is presented as a norm, not a
Mhm.
thing that she's doing, right? Because by the point that she's on that regiment, she's no longer doing it because she's clocking it in the app. And she is doing it in a way that has been established as healthy for her, meaning that this is the, and I'm putting it in very big quotes, the expected amount of working out that a person
Mm.
should be doing uh, uh, as a person.
Sure. Okay. All right, I
This
formulated some thoughts
Right.
while you
This
were
is where I
yeah.
got stuck because like when I read
Yeah.
through that schedule, I was like, well, that's really nice for a person with disposable income because they can have access to the gym with disposable time who
Mhm.
has opportunity in their work to walk away from their job for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. Like the level of how this isn't sustainable unless you're a 20 something singleton was a lot. And it,
Sure.
I mean, these could all be musings of a lazy person. We're also going to go with that.
Uh-huh. I mean, so let me just drop this caveat that I have traumatic fitness experience and I do not like to exercise or work out. Um, so what the fuck do I know? I've never gotten a runner's high and I don't understand when people talk about it. I'm like, I mean, I guess I understand it conceptually, but it's not something I feel motivated to strive for. I'm like, that's not enough to make me run. No, thank you. Um, Yes, it post that way, it does feel excessive because, based on my limited experience, you're supposed to let your muscles recover, like 1 or 2 day like, every other day or something like that. That's why it's called leg day, and then you could do arm day, and then you do leg day, you're letting your muscles recover. Um, in regards to their relationship always being coaching, I saw that it's the evolution of coaching into supportive person. So, like, he started off as a coach, but and he was always a supportive person, but that expectation, that professional expectation wore away, and he was always just a supportive person for her. And he always supported and pushed her in whatever her goal to be strong was and to look good naked because that works out for him. Um, so like that's just the relationship. I mean, I think about my relationships where I go to somebody specifically for their expertise and they teach me the thing and then they support me through me doing the thing. It's very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. I mean, in a professional relationship, absolutely. But it's when it switched from being a professional relationship to a personal relationship. But what didn't work for me is that when that switch happened, their behavior didn't switch in any way. He can
Well, there wasn't a switch.
Right.
They stayed the exact same, ignoring the fact that they were in this ethical gray area, and then they were still in the ethical gray area when they hooked up, and then, like, the whole ending like, they had to unravel all that shit, right? So, like, but the supportive nature of being in a relationship didn't change. It's
Yeah,
just
it
the
just, I
nature
guess
of the
all I'm saying,
relationship changed.
yeah, all I'm saying is maybe it is the slow burn. Maybe it is the fact that we don't really get into their feelings until the last quarter of the book.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work for me, is all. It
Okay.
didn't work for me.
Okay.
I was like,
Okay.
oh, great. They have finally resolved their, like, gazing longingly at each other's asses. Hooray.
I mean, she gazed longingly at his chesticle muscles, and he gazed longingly at her ass.
I mean, sure, sure. But
She was
still,
always feeling him up.
I guess that also didn't like emotionally. I didn't
Mhm.
feel supported emotionally in reading these
Mhm.
characters because so much of it focused on their fitness journey. Again, not to take away
Mhm.
from people's fitness journeys. Wonderful, go for it. I'm excellent at couch potatoing. If that was a team
Mhm.
sport, I would win.
Mhm. Here, here. We'd be on a team together, right?
Obviously.
You picked me for your team, right?
Yeah. Ah.
Yeah,
uh,
I wanna it's yeah, it's an interesting thing because that is also kind of quintessentially Denise Williams. Like, I think she writes a really good, like, friendship building relationship, like a relationship built on friendship and chemistry and those weird blurred lines where people shouldn't blur their lines.
I mean, I agree. I guess I also came at this book with the expectation of it
Mhm,
matching in its intense, not necessarily in its intensity, but in the intensity of the love story, matching
mhm,
how to fail at flirting, and it didn't for me. This couple
mhm.
didn't connect for me in a way where I was willing to sit through their I love him but I shouldn't. Uh
Ah, sure.
Like, I couldn't commit to all of that time, and then I
Mm,
was really disappointed that I didn't get enough time to get to know them, and that really gets into my next question, because I
yeah.
feel like we spend a lot of time with Wes and with Wes's, previous history and with his
Mhm,
family and with all of the emotional, barriers that he has put up and why he's put them up. But I really don't know that I had the same journey with Britta. And it felt really
hmm.
unbalanced, particularly because, and I know it's dual POV, so it technically isn't her story or his story, but it, like, one of the two storylines wasn't as unraveled. Like, I didn't feel that she was as unwrapped as he was. And I wish that she was.
See, I disagree because I felt like this was Britta's story more than anything, and it might be just because she's the point of view for the first chapter. Uh, I wonder if your disconnect comes from the fact that so many of her chapters start as blog posts. Like, this is her writing is s readers and listeners and such, she is writing a series of blog posts for the magazine that she works for based off of her experience with this app. We didn't explain that earlier. Explained. So, I wonder if that conceit pulled you out, possibly?
I mean,
Because
n-
I
no,
believed those more than anything else that I read, or as equally.
I no, I did too, and they didn't pull me out, and I thought it was an interesting switch up in, like, how to tell an emotional story without just putting it into exposition. But no, I mean, like, there was just something really three-dimensional and deep and a little bit
Mhm,
dark and twisty about him and his story. And not that she has to be dark and twisty. I'm not saying that that's the case. She can
thank you.
be well adjusted, but there, so she would put up these blocks for herself, right? She would be like, I am unlovable, but why? Right? Like he was like,
Mm,
I can't
mhm,
trust anyone. And here is this story about why he can't trust anyone. So the like it's hard because everyone gets to feel what they feel and their level of where they get triggered is their own, and so there is no sort of codifying of that. Ooh, word of stuff.
mhm,
um
mhm,
but all I'm in I statements, all I'm saying is that I connected to his emotional journey very well, and I did not
mm,
connect to her
mhm.
emotional journey because it didn't really seem a long way to go.
Sure. I get that because she was well adjusted. She doesn't have family drama like Wes did. She didn't Her work drama is relatable work drama in that she's competing for a raise, and she has this opportunity that she has to knock out of the ballpark. Um, and that it's about her fitness journey, which you've mentioned you didn't really relate to. Um, it maybe perhaps Denise Williams was leaning a bit on the audience experience being larger women, being plus-sized women, and their experiences fueling that perhaps. I being a like a clothing hanger, that blows away in the wind, like, I can't relate to that, and so I approached this book in a, "I'm gonna learn something, empathetically, and have this experience through this book that I don't experience in my day-to-day life," which is the whole fucking reason of reading a book, in my opinion. And so I think that gave me a little bit of leeway because I don't have this relatable experience that I'm like, well, must be this character's experience. This must be something the writer has also maybe experienced or is mining from other experiences. So that I'm giving a lot of leeway because it's not my personal experience. I don't know. So, um, my question, more lighthearted. There is a second. There's a bunch of characters. There's a bunch of side characters, and I was like, "Who the hell are all these people?" Firstly, um, but Wes starts his company with his now ex girlfriend and his best friend from college, Cord, and then his secretary Pearl is also a very common character, and Cord has a crush on Pearl, and there's implications that the relationship develops. Yes.
To
Question face.
clarify, so he starts the company with his ex-girlfriend Kelsey and his friend Cord. In
Yes,
your
so
sentence,
sorry.
it sounded like Cord was the ex-girlfriend, which is not the
I
case.
mean, it's not Cordelia. It's I don't know what the hell is Cord short for. It's the most southern name. I mean, it is his name Cord Rusty? Like, who knows? Anyway, yes, Cord, male type, co-CEO with Wes. Pearl, his secretary. Kelsey is now out of the picture in the company and the relationship. And anyway, throughout the course of this book, Pearl and Cord's relationship seems to develop, but it's like one sentence here, one sentence there. Their longing gazes were a little longer than normal. Um, and we don't really get that full story, and that full story isn't going to be the next book. So, how do you feel about the secondary romances?
So I'm firstly, there's a question later on, or a comment maybe, and it definitely says, "Can Cord and Pearl please have a book?" Um, how do you know they're not the third book? Do you know?
Because there's like a blurb that is at the end of this book after the epilogue. It's RJ. I think it's RJ.
Oh, okay.
No,
Uh,
Dell. It's Dell. I don't know. I haven't finished it.
Okay. So I really hope then that Cord and Pearl get a short story.
Yeah.
They were super cute and
Yep.
wonderful, and I
Yep.
loved Pearl's energy. So, I mean, I am ambivalent on our main couple, so I love that I had a couple to connect to. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
really wanted to not be, but I
Yeah,
really wanted Wes to be
Pearl
happy.
sure. Pearl gave us, like, assertive assistant, which we really love from, the is it the Alicia Rye series?
Yep, the right
Yep.
swipe.
R Yep, we love an assertive assistant. Cord was like cinnamon roll CEO. He's like, "Just give me my computers and I'm happy," but also, "Oh my god, there's a girl in the room." It was
It
very
was
sweet.
adorable and so sweet and so charming and sort of the maybe the story I needed this
Mhm.
week, and
Mhm.
so I was chasing after their scenes. I thought it was wonderful.
Sure.
I mean I do like a good found family, and I do think that
Yeah.
it adds to the world and the realness um of some places and people, and I am always very jealous of fully grown adults who have genuine friends in their corner, because I think it's really hard to
Mhm.
maintain those relationships. And
Mhm.
okay, maybe it's just really hard for me to maintain those relationships. We won't get into that.
No, friends are
But
hard.
friends are hard. Being genuine friends with someone is hard. Also, when in books people have been friends for a really really long time, that I think is really hard because we change as people, and it's sometimes those people who were our closest friends 10 years ago maybe drifted apart from us. So when those relationships are well established and seem really genuine, it's a sweet, lovely thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely, and in looking at Britta and her friends, like, I never you get, like, one scene with each of them, but none of them were flavored enough for me, if that makes sense. Like, RJ is this no-nonsense lawyer, and she shoots straight. Dell's at school, and he's totally flighty. And, like, the other one,
And the
that's
other one.
that's
There is
all I
a third
remember.
friend. Yeah, there is a third
Yeah.
friend. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, like, they're there and they exist. They they don't form the supportive net that Wes is providing for Britta. Yeah, it was just a whole weird situation. And so,
Okay.
anywho, yeah.
So
Next
here
question.
here's my question. And in case it isn't clear already, 30 minutes in, I am a little salty just today in general. So just know that going into this next question. But
Well, you are having the, like, equivalent you're being sound tortured by this cricket, so
so
saltiness is understood.
there's a little bit of that, a little bit
Yeah.
of sound torture. Okay, so one of the biggest cruxes of this story is that they're both angsting, but they don't talk to each other. And they keep
Mhm,
putting off telling each other the like each one of them has a secret, and their secrets aren't that
mhm.
big in the grand scheme of
No.
things to begin with. But the longer they
Mhm,
wait to tell those secrets, the bigger the secret becomes by virtue of having been held for so long, to the
mhm,
point where like it gets blown out of proportion and then it explodes in their face. And this isn't the
mhm.
first book or the first time I've brought this up, but my entire question is, why don't adults in romance books fucking talk to each other? Just stop that. Like, just stop the bullshit. No, just no. End of sentence.
Uh, but we need a plot.
Sure.
So, like, being an underdeveloped adult is can be the plot.
True, true. But does it have to be every time? I was so frustrated. It was like your like main conflict is
Mhm.
so high school. Just talk to each other.
I mean, when you boil it down, it's they want to be perceived a certain way. Britta wants to be perceived as just another person signing up for the app because she's a journalist trying to have a real experience instead of a performative experience for good marketing, right? And Wes is the CEO, but he takes on a client because he just wants to be a coach again. He wants to have that feeling of helping somebody again, and he doesn't want the applied pressure of being the CEO. So like they both are doing it to make themselves feel better, but at some point, yes, that devolves and becomes the weight on their shoulders. And lies spiral out of control, I've heard.
I I
Once.
I know. And I understand it as a plot device. What frustrates me is that it's been the plot device for ever.
Mm,
Can we get new ones? Like, what if they would have talked to each other halfway through the book and then we developed even further into their story, right? Like, there's sort
mhm,
of a singularity to
mhm,
storytelling in romance that
sure.
happens. Like, your entire book has to be one story. And it
Mm,
doesn't. Like, the story doesn't just have to be from the beginning of their relationship to the promposal, unless it's a high school story. But
uh-huh.
But it can be from the time they meet to when they have their first fight, to when they have their second fight, to when they continue to develop as a couple together. And we
Mhm.
don't really, and like, this isn't really a complaint about this book in particular. This is sort of me on a rant about the trajectory of romance now. What? Just take over whenever mine is too weird.
No, by all means, continue to orally vomit about the entire genre. That Jiminy Cricket is really getting to you. No, that's I we've talked about this stuff in our minisodes in just different ways about the bits and pieces of this genre that we like or we don't like. And at the core, this book for me is a friends to lovers. We see them become friends. It's not an established friendship. Um, Also, little bit, not quite a workplace. I'm never mind. I'm pulling that off the table. It's not a workplace romance, but like, uh, Uh, I'm a softie for the friends to lovers thing, so I'm giving this a lot of leeway for that in that regard, for that in that respect. Uh, Anywho, and that sentence devolved into ellipses. This episode is brought to you. No, I'm drinking this hard tea, a sparkling hard tea, that says, I shit you not, kissed with lavender. So it felt very apropos of recording this episode. I think it's working.
I have many questions, including the how to of Kissed with Lavender. But
Hmm. It's the LaCroix of sparkling beverages where it looked at lavender once and got aroused.
oh, they should put that on the can. I
Yeah.
would drink that.
Would
Yes, at
you?
least
All right.
once.
Um, to my question, and then we'll go to break, and I won't. I'll just get more and more drunk. Uh, in the story, we talked about how Wes has family drama, and he has very explicit external um tension in his life, and it's the fact that his mother, for his entire life, has been an addict, and so much so that his sister has run away and barely keeps contact with them. So like he has a lot of family shit going on. And during over the course of this book, his mother has a police incident. She is under house arrest. She also has a hospitalization. Like a lot of fucking shit happens to this poor guy. Uh, what do you think about addiction as a plot device, as an external plot factor?
So, from my soapbox of can they not all be the same over and over again, I would say that I'm not a fan. However, I would say that this is where this book did really well for me, in that it
Mm,
wasn't just a plot device, but it was a very articulate conversation about what it's like to love someone with addiction and what it's
mhm,
like with that person, not in these really minor ways that are sometimes used in propelling a plot forward. So, like some of the things that happen to his mother and to us don't really push the plot forward so much as they interrupt the plot. And I think that's
Mhm.
really indicative of some of the ways that it it is like to be in the presence of someone who's addicted. That interrupts your flow of things, and it interrupts the way
Mhm.
that you mean to go about your day. And it does color everything at all times. So I think the amount of information and the number of scenes we have with his mom didn't feel to me like just a sprinkling of bad luck, but it felt like a genuine conversation on addiction. So in this instance, I think it was done really well. But
Yeah.
I do think that overall you shouldn't really utilize it as a fix
Yeah.
all to your to your plot problems.
Yeah, I also liked it a lot because, it felt like it really colored the fact that he is trying to, execute this he has this Herculean effort of trying to hold his family together. He is Spider-Man trying to hold the ferry in one piece so it doesn't drown. That's not the right word. Sink? Sink. Cool.
So the fairy doesn't drown.
I've just personified a fairy. All right. What I also really liked about this is that this is the first romance novel I've ever read that refers to Al-Anon and the process of um going through and getting help because you were affected by someone who has addiction. I thought that was it was really nice to call out the fact that that's a resource. Yeah.
Um, I absolutely agree. Um, Kind of a dark place to take a tiny breather, but a breather we shall
A
take.
drinker. I'm taking a drinker.
All right.
Okay, we're going to take an intermission right here. When we come back, we're going to break down our favorite moment from the book
And discuss our ratings and if this book made us want to get naked.
Please enjoy this message from one of our friends in the podcasting world. Revving up again.
All right. Okay. That's important too. We are back and we are talking about The Fastest Way to Fall by Denise Williams. And
Sure are.
we're gonna talk compelling moments, and this is where we get back to me saying I need Cords and Pearl's story, because all of their stuff was wonderful, and like it was these tiny little touches and it was really great.
Mhm.
And then the other moment that isn't in here, but our conversation earlier about Wes's mother made me think of it, but there is this the darkest moment for me of the book, the most like texturally awful moment, and I like it so much
Mhm.
because it's so well written. I don't like it because it's such a great moment, but I like it because it's so well written, is when Wes puts his mother to bed and she doesn't want to be
Mm.
in bed, and she's drunk or high. She's not
Yeah.
fully present in the moment, and she turns away from him and tells him to go away, and she's really mad at him, and she might even be
Mm.
so far out of it that she's dissociated enough to where she doesn't know it's him necessarily. But he stands in the dark room with her facing away from him, and he says, "I love you," and he walks out of the room and stays
Mhm.
on the couch to make sure that she survives the night. That
Mhm.
like that whole interaction is so heartbreaking and so well written that, not an awesome moment, but a really well crafted moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that made me think about the scene in when they're in the hospital and he's, looking out the window and Britta is trying to connect with him and, um, not succeeding. He's not letting her in, you know? I don't
Yeah,
know.
that
So
was a good one too, because typically the typical storyline would be she gives him comfort and he said like he leans into that comfort and allows her in, but he doesn't, not at that time.
yeah. Yeah, and like, that was sort of I think that counts as the black moment, kind of, or, like, pre-black moment, black prologue. Oh my god, words. Um, the overture.
The overture to the Black Moment. I feel like
Uh-huh,
there's so many new sentences that have come out of today's episode. They're just
uh-huh.
excellent.
There's
Um,
something, all right. So for me, I think the compelling moment is how many massages Wes gave her. I'm a person who loves massages and can always use more massages. So let's normalize massages. Foot massages, back massages, more massages, please.
all right. And your dog agrees.
Lolo, come here. Come here and tell the people. Oh, you're gonna sit on my feet? Okay. She's telling me she would like to leave this room now. But you can wait. You can wait 10 more minutes. You got this. Yeah, you're a dog. All right. What was your hot take?
um, I have some reservations about this one. It was intense in the ways that may not be okay for everybody, both in terms of the conversation about addiction and the conversation about and surrounding disordered eating and fitness and working out as a full-time pastime. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, and then I needed it to be a relationship book much sooner than it was in order for
Mhm.
me to, like, really get into
Yeah.
them as a couple, and it didn't happen for me. So, 3 stars?
Okay. Okay. All right. I I really liked this book in that Denise Williams is an excellent writer. She is an amazing story crafter, and I felt like her characters were fleshed out, uh, fully rounded. They had internal, external issues. Um, the world was very vibrant. Yes, I did not connect to the content of it. Yeah, there was maybe like an emotional beat or like a timeline beat one too long before they came into the relationship. That's a really great point that I think I agree with. I don't like a slow burn. I want sex from page 1 to page 350 every chapter. It's 2 minutes. That's actually too much probably. Um, that's porn.
Nothing wrong with that. Just maybe not all the
Nothing
time.
wrong with that. Right. Romance novel porn. Anywho, uh, she writes these stories about real women and women of color who get these really hot guys. Like, that I think is really relatable and, um, more content like that is what I wanna see out in the romance world. So, this is a 4 stars. We're rounding up to 4 stars. It's like a 3.8. Um It also read really fast, like, the chapters are short, they're bite-sized, they got lots of breaks in the mid like, I love a potato chip chapter too, so, um, I think she's getting the 4. There's still a lot riding on the coattails of How to Fail at Flirting as well. She's getting some legacy points there because I trust her. I trust her
That
as an author.
that's true, and I do agree that the wordsmithing is wonderful.
Mhm.
I didn't love this couple. It doesn't mean I won't read other things she puts out. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, I like
Perhaps this is just a sophomore effort.
ooh, okay. All right. The cricket agrees.
Thanks, Jiminy.
All right. Did this book make you want to get naked?
Uh, it did like, I was physically titillated by this book. I love a friends to lovers. I love wit. I love when people banter. And the the unabashed passion, say that 3 times fast, that Wes has for Britta, and just like his pure lust for her was really visceral for me. I really liked reading that he just loved her for who she was and wanted her for who she was. So, I was titillated. I didn't get naked, but I thought about it.
All right. Okay. I didn't because I got I got blue balled. By the time we got to the
Mm,
sex, I was like, oh, yay, they finally got naked. Yay.
mm,
Oh, look,
mm,
there's
mhm,
like 50 pages left in the book. So,
mm.
no, but only because I got too frustrated waiting for it. Because yeah, I was
Got
ready
it.
for it way before they were, apparently. But I too like a sex forward book, so to
Sure.
know, but not for lack of trying.
Yeah. Uh, do you know what you're reading next?
Ha!
Do we wanna go to the next segment? Do we wanna just
Uh,
wrap this up and go to the next segment?
we absolutely can. But we can go to the next segment. I don't have an answer for you though.
Sure, sure, sure. I did ask because I am prepared and I did
Oh,
have
please,
one.
please continue.
So
Ah,
I am this far, what is that, a third? A third into Pretty Little Lion by Salika Snyder. Um, there's lots of sex right off the bat. None of it is explicit. I just had to think about if it was explicit or graphic. That's what the pause was about. Yes, but there's a lot of it. And so I'm just like, how am I being blue balled while they're having a sex scene? So, but there's these books. We reviewed or we read Big Bad Wolf like a year ago when it came out. This is the second in the series. It has a lot of action. It's a very action packed sort of romance novel. So, um, that's also gumming up the works. Just give me the
yeah.
explicit sex.
I see, I see. Well, I was gonna say, when we're done, when we're both done reading it, come back. We'll talk about
Hmm.
it, or we'll do it in
Absolutely.
the wrap up. Great. Well, go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry. What is Jiminy reading? Is Jiminy reading anything?
Very tiny menu of dust mites.
Delicious.
I assume,
Eating those skin cells.
or yeah,
Dust
whatever it is
mites.
that crickets eat. I'm sorry, we really devolved in the conversation about crickets. Not
This
an
is the etymology
I was
podcast.
gonna say, not an etymologist, not a kinesiologist. We're really just stumbling into territories I do not occupy.
Hmm. Amazing. I was at a wedding this weekend, and one of the people I was staying at this Airbnb with was reading The Love Hypothesis, and I was like, "Oh, girl, let me let's talk." Or you can listen to our previous podcast
I
about
was
it.
gonna say, you sent them over to the podcast, right?
Just kick you right on over. So yeah, it's nice to like see people like I put this book on my list because you guys talked about it. I'm like, I feel so honored and special that people are utilizing their time to read books that we have opinions on. Like they value
Yes,
our opinions. I'm
right.
very honored by that.
Yes.
And like talking to people or like people are like, "You have a podcast? Let me." And they just, like, immediately follow us, and I get the notification that they followed us, and I'm like, "You guys, I appreciate you."
That's
So,
wonderful.
thank you for listening, everyone.
Yes, definitely.
You each and every one of you are valued.
Absolutely, yes. Well, I feel like we should end on that lovely note because
I really
that's
think
a
we
good
should.
one. All right.
Hearts. Hearts all around, y'all.
Wait. There we go.
Okay, at some point, I need to have my TED Talk about how you can judge someone based on their heart hands. So, here are my heart
Oh,
hands, and there are your
oh,
heart
and
hands.
then wait. Oh, you do it this way. I
I
see. I
do I
see.
do bottoms of palms to tips of fingers, not thumb to thumb. Oh, this so weird. So weird.
I have never really considered which way to make a heart. I do also know about this one.
Oh, thumb to forefinger? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's also like I'm playing the world's tiniest record player for you.
Those are the same, basically.
Pretty much. We love you all. Have a great week. So are you, dear audience human, gonna pick up this book now that you've heard our review? Let us know in the comments. Have a suggestion for another review? Slide on into our DMs.
If you like this adventure in books or updates on our upcoming projects, please follow, like, save, subscribe, rate, review us on Instagram at l.skyford,
on Twitch at lskyford and on Twitter at skyfordl. Phew. I'm Sky.
And I'm Ford. That's it for this episode. We will see you next time on Booklandia, where every book is a whole world to explore. And we're out.